Hello everyone and welcome to our FODMAP chat session. Today's session is all about the Monash University FODMAP diet app. And joining me today, I have an awesome research dietitian from the Monash team, Chloe Swiney. Hello, Chloe.
Hi, Alana. Thanks for having me.
We are really excited about having you. Now, just before we jump into the tour today, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Alana. I'm the founder and CEO of A Little Bit Yummy, and I'm going to be your host today. Now, Chloe, I'm super excited about today's session. The Monash University FODMAP diet app is kind of like a FODMAP Bible that you can carry around in your pocket. I'm not sure I would have survived the first phase of the low FODMAP diet without it. And I know it's a huge resource for a lot of people out there. Could you quickly tell us who was this app designed for and why we should be using it?
Yeah, sure. So it's really designed for anyone going through the FODMAP diet. So whether you're starting off in that phase one where you want to know what you can and can't include, whether it's phase two, the reintroduction, knowing what you're supposed to be doing for each of the FODMAP groups, but also just like a lifelong sort of handy resource for anyone on the has FODMAP intolerances, because we're constantly updating it. So it's handy to refer back to for any sort of new updates on foods and what you can and can't have, really.
Absolutely. I love how you're making it practical for us. And I also love how you guys update the app on a regular basis, like every couple of months at a minimum, there is a brand new update in there. And you don't have to pay for those updates. They just come with your initial investment in the app. So it's a fantastic thing to go and download. Now, today's session, obviously, we're doing a Monash app tour. You're going to guide us around the app and give us lots of tips and tricks on how to use it. So we're just going to start screen share. And Chloe, would you like to tell us about the different areas of the app we can currently see on the screen?
Yeah, sure. So I think the main thing that most people use our app for is that food guide that you can see there. So that's where we upload all of the different foods that we've tested here in our lab at Monash. So it's got all the foods and it's got that traffic light system that tells us whether things are low, moderate or high. So that's probably the main resource that app is perfect for. The next section you can see is that certified section. So not only do we just test general foods that everybody sort of accesses, but certified foods are certain companies who send us their products for us to certify. So you might have seen on the label of some packages, you'll see our little blue logo. That's in that certified section there. So it's got all of the different sort of food companies and where you can find their products as well. Next, we have Find a Dietitian. So we have our own health professional FODMAP training course. And if someone passes that and has a dietitian sort of registration in their country, they can be listed on this section of the app. So this gives everyone who has the app great access to dietitians from around the world to help them sort of go through those different phases of the diet. Next, we have the recipe section. So we've got over 70 recipes on there, some of which aren't even on our website. So they're sort of special ones. And so there's things for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, sides. There's a whole range of different recipes for everyone. We have our booklet. So our booklet is actually something you can purchase like a hard copy on our website, but it actually comes within the app for free. And we update that every sort of couple of years. So we update that in our app as well. So it's got all the history on FODMAPs, what FODMAPs are as well, the different phases. It's got shopping lists, guides for eating out, guides for vegans and vegetarians. So it's almost like a Bible within the Bible of the app, really. It's got all of this extra information. And then the diary, so pretty self-explanatory, a diary so you can log what foods you're eating, logs your symptoms as well, so it helps you sort of match up what might be going on, even your bowel motions, even your stress levels as well. We know stress and IBS can really, are strongly linked. So, and it's something you can actually share as well with your dietitian, so you can send them your diary and we can go through it together. So they're the sort of key ones. And then you can see also we've got the Start the Diet button, so that sort of just gives you a rundown of the 3 steps. A link to our online patient course. And then up the very top left, we've got our little community tab. So the 2 little people. So that gives you links to our website, our social media. So you can sort of become part of the community online as well. And our little shopping cart. So you have a shopping list within the app as well. And then obviously our settings and sort of help. So that's sort of the rundown, I guess, of the key sections that you can see here on the app.
There is so much to explore. Like a lot of those sections are really self-explanatory. Like if you want to find a dietitian, you just tap on their icon, or like if you want a recipe, you just go there. So today's session, I think where we're going to focus our time is in that food guide, because we get so many questions sent in about how do you use it and how do you implement that. So do you want to tap on that food guide and we'll get started?
Sure thing. So when you open the food guide, the first thing you see is all our categories. So we've got hundreds and hundreds of foods listed. So I think it'd be way too much to see it all as soon as you pop on. So that's why we have these categories here, so you can see them. And also we have all the way down the bottom, different countries as well. So things that are specifically linked to those countries. So this helps it really divide up really nice and easily.
Oh, that's perfect, because that way if you're swapping out, say, a high FODMAP vegetable, you can go into a vegetable, or if you're from, say, the United States and you're looking for maybe a certified product, you can go and click on United States and find that information, which is really useful.
Yeah.
Now, Chloe, shall we jump into either vegetables or fruit? I don't mind which one, but I'd love to take a close look at what's in those categories.
Sure, we'll pop into the vegetables. I think there's a good variety at the very top here.
Oh, there is amazing variety. Now, straight away, what I'm noticing is a whole lot of little circles and larger circles on the screen, which are green, yellow, and red. I'm assuming this is the Monash University traffic light system, but can you tell us what is that system for and how do we use it, especially in the first phase of the diet?
Yeah, sure. So like you can see, there's sort of two sets of our traffic light system. So green is low FODMAP, amber is a moderate FODMAP, so it might be tolerated, might not. And then red means it's likely, it's high FODMAP and likely not tolerated by most people with IBS. So you can see down the right-hand side, there's these big traffic lights, the large one, just a single one for each listing. And this is what we call the sort of overall rating of a food, or the standard serve sort of traffic light. So all of our foods are uploaded with a standard serve. So this can either be based on the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, which is a similar guide sort of around the world, or sort of what a packet might say, like how much rice a usual person might sort of eat. So this is what a standard serving sort of rating might be. So for alfalfa, you see a standard serve of 75 grams is green. Now, this can be, I guess, sort of, a quick guide, but limiting in that, it doesn't mean that the food is always going to be just low or just high in FODMAP. So that's when those smaller little dots underneath come into play. So you can see with alfalfa, although it's green at a standard serve of 75 grams, if you went a bit overboard with the alfalfa and had 220 grams, it does actually become high FODMAP. So these smaller traffic lights give you a really good guide of whether there might be an upper limit, or even something that you might not have to cut out completely, although it might be high FODMAP. So say that artichoke hearts canned, it's red at a standard serve, but this doesn't mean you actually have to cut it out completely, because at a 50-gram serve, it is actually low, it's green. So those smaller lights sort of give you a bit more flexibility to know whether there is an upper serve, so whether you can have too much and it ends up being, high, or whether you can actually have a smaller amount and still tolerate potentially. So the big ones are that overall rating, and those small ones give you those really handy sort of serve sizes to be able to tolerate, how much you can have.
Yeah, so how I'm interpreting this, feel free to correct me, is that on the first phase of the low FODMAP diet, you can sort of focus on any of those green rated serving sizes and continue to enjoy that serving size as you go through, that 2 to 4 week period.
Yeah, exactly right. Stick to the green. Even if it has a red overall rating, you can still have those green serving sizes. So smaller serves, as long as there's a green light, you can have that in phase 1 of the diet.
That is going to make so many people happy, because it gives you so much more flexibility in the diet. Okay, do you want to tap into the food, maybe asparagus, so we can have a closer look at what happens when you go a bit more in depth? So talk me through what we're seeing in the breakdown we have on the screen now.
Sure thing. So this is where it goes into more what FODMAPs are actually present. So say once you've done, either maybe you're in phase 2 when you're reintroducing, but mostly maybe in phase 3 once you've gone, okay, I've done my reintroduction and fructans don't sit well with me. This helps you figure out what foods have those FODMAPs. So in here with asparagus, you can see in that 75-gram serve, it's high and it contains fructose, so that's red, and fructans, where it's red as well. And then you can scroll down and see the other serves. So moderate, in that 17-gram serves, there's a moderate amount of fructose, and then low, there's none at all. And you can see it has an amount. So in that main page, it just has a grams amount, where we also have sort of a little bit of a guide of what that might mean. So, for that high serve, it's 5 spears of asparagus. 5 spears is probably going to be a bit too much. so it has the serves and the FODMAP content, and then also a little bit of information under each as well. So this one doesn't have as much, I guess, about what have we got? The serving size contains moderate amounts of excess fructose, so intake should be limited if you malabsorb fructose. So just a little bit of an explanation. And then up the top, you see there's a bit of a longer one. So we like to note that no matter what our guides are about, what is in the different foods, we try to stick to those healthy guidelines of, 5 serves of vegetable, 2 serves of fruit. So even if something says you can have as much as you want of it, try to stick to those sort of 5 serves or 2 serves sort of thing. So it gives you that sort of guidelines into the different foods.
It makes sense. I love how you've got more like, I'm going to call it visual. I'm not sure it's the right explanation of how much food you can have, because some people might not have kitchen scales in their kitchen, though they are a fantastic investment if you don't.
Yes.
So I love that. And I also think that having the breakdown of the individual FODMAP groups, it really helps you get to know your body better and understand what you're going to tolerate over the long run, which means you can have a bit more flexibility in your diet. So that's fantastic. Now, just while we're talking about serving sizes, I've got 2 quick FAQs for you that we get all the time coming in. So the first one is, are the serving sizes, so those green rated serving sizes, are they per meal or per day?
Yeah, that's a really common question, and it's per meal. So just because, say, with the asparagus here, say you have, 1 spear at lunchtime, that doesn't mean you've used up all your asparagus for the day. You can have another lot at dinner time. So if you sort of think the way that the digestive system works, it's got to move through all your parts and eventually get out at the end. So if you're having a constant eating, it may sort of build up. So you have to be careful about how much you're having. But otherwise, these serve sizes are per meal. So if you have something at lunch, you can also have that at dinner later in the day in that specific serve sizes. So just per meal, not per day.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing is just leave a couple of hours between each serve. Give your body a bit of time to start processing the first serve before you move on to the next one. Fantastic. Yeah. And then our second question that we get all the time is, are those weights we can see listed, are they raw weights or are they cooked weights for the food?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And my answer is it depends. No. So we're really specific about where it is cooked. So foods that you're only going to eat cooked, we have them cooked there. So something like rice, you're not going to eat little raw grains of rice. So that is, it does say, I'll even search it up for you so you can see. If I go into the search bar, I love that, and type in rice, if I go basmati rice, you can see here 1 cup cooked. So you're not going to eat rice raw, so it is a cooked item. But for things like vegetables that, there's so many different ways to cook them, it would be hard to be able to list all of those. So for vegetables, fruit, all that sort of stuff, that is raw weights. So it's really important that's a raw weight. It's not cooked. However, you'll be fine to have it cooked. It's just about thinking about what you're adding in when you're cooking it. So making sure you're not putting garlic and onion, all that sort of stuff. It'll still stay the same FODMAP rating, but it'll explicitly say on the app if it is a cooked product.
Yeah. One thing to be mindful of as a recipe developer when you're cooking foods is that their weights do change because often the water absorbs out of it. So my quick tip here is that when you're prepping your food, think about your portion sizes then for your vegetables or your fruits, especially if you're cooking them, and then just divide the recipe into the number of portions at the end. And that way you'll be fine. You don't need to overthink it. But if you go back and try and weigh them at the end, it can get really complicated.
Very confusing, yeah. Definitely.
Cool. Now, if we click back into one of those categories and choose another food, I saw some fascinating symbols at the top of a particular food. So choose a food, any food, doesn't matter. Oh, you're looking for a fun food, I can tell already.
Let's go into cherries. Why not?
Okay, cherries. Right, just under the cherries heading, I can see some fun symbols. I can see like a notebook with a plus, a star with a plus, and a shopping trolley with a plus. What do those do?
Yes, these are really handy things for each of the foods. So that little notepad sort of one with the plus, that's where you can add a note that will show up in the guide. So say for cherries, if I go back and 3 are amber, but I've had 5 before and I didn't feel ill, I could go 5 cherries were fine. Fine, save, and it comes up, you see, as a little note there, and it even comes up in the food guide, 5 cherries were fine. So that's a note to myself going, I can actually eat that much. But it could be the opposite, right? no cherries are good for me, big avoid. So it's just a handy little note for yourself to be able to see. The next one, that star, the plus, is our little favorite symbol. So if you add it to your favorites, you can find your favorite list. See, there's a star at the top of the page here. If I tap on that, it comes up in our favorites list. So you could use this list, common foods that you're eating, you could add them to your favorites list. Or again, on the opposite side, foods that are big no-nos for you, you could add them to this list and be like a quick check to check if you need to avoid them or not. So again, it's just a handy little list that you can have at the tip of your fingers as well. And the final one is this little shopping cart. So like you said, back on that homepage, there was that little shopping list one. So this, you can add it to the shopping list. So I might just say 1 bag of cherries, press save. And then if we go back to that homepage, that little shopping trolley up the top, it will add cherries to my shopping list. So I can take this to the shops, walk around and be able to, go off my list of what I can and can't have, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a handy little guide for each of the foods there.
Oh, so useful and will save you lots of time. And I love that this is a way that you can also personalize the app to your personal tolerance levels as well.
100%, yeah.
Okay, so before we were exploring the app and I saw a couple of foods that had this like little starburst next to them.
Yeah.
So if we look at, if you search tomato, I'm pretty sure that will come up at the moment.
That one might have, oh yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, there we go. I see one.
Tomato.
So I can see that little like symbol next to those tomato products and the tamari sauce as well. What does that mean? And is
Yeah. So these are foods, like you said, we're constantly updating the app. So this is our little new symbol. So this means a food has either been newly added to the app or it's been updated. So obviously tomatoes has been around for a while. We've had it in the app for a long time, but we've retested them. So then we have a new sort of listing. So if you see that little star, it means it's either just been added to the app or it's an old listing that's been updated. And if you want to see a whole summary of them as well, it's actually in our categories too. So we've got this new and updated foods category, and all of the newest foods and updated foods are all in here as well. So as we add new foods, it comes into this section. So we always update on our social media. We've put a post out to let you know when new foods have been added, and then you can pop in here and see what's in there and check the listing. So we want to make sure that we're constantly adding new things because, we're getting access to more things and the app's available around the world. So we want to make sure, it's as open and available to as many people as possible.
That's fantastic. And I love seeing new foods pop in there because every time you add more foods, we get more variety back into our diets as well.
Exactly.
Now we have time for one last question before we wrap up this app tour. So my last question for you is, if you are in, say, the United States and used to viewing your serving sizes in ounces, not grams, how do you update that?
Yeah, sure. So there's a few sort of customizable features for depending on what country you're in. So if we go back to our main page, that little cog in the top right corner, if we click on that, we have our units of measurement. So I've got mine in grams at the moment, but I could change that over to imperial in ounces. So then if I go back into the food guide, it will come up in ounces. So it's all there in the different ounces as well. And you can even customize it further than that with the countries as well. In that you see there's flags underneath these different listings. So bean, Indian, Valor frozen, it's got a little Indian flag. But if I'm in the US and I can't access that, what's the point? So in that top right corner, you can see those 3 lines with the dots. That's our filter. So you can add in select countries. I could scroll down to the United States. Done. It'll just refresh the app really quickly, take you back to the home page. But when you pop back into your food guide, if I scroll down, not only do I have it in ounces, but anything that doesn't have the US flag has also disappeared. So this is really handy to really filter it to your country to see foods that only you can access, really. So it makes it really sort of, again, customizable to the person using it.
That is fantastic. Chloe, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you and exploring the app with you. For those of you listening in, Monash University are the lead researchers of the low FODMAP diet, and you can support their work by going and downloading the Monash University FODMAP diet app. You can find that app in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And just remember that the money you spend on the app goes straight back into low FODMAP research. So you're helping your community access more foods by buying this app. So it's a fantastic investment. If you need more low FODMAP resources, you can also go to monashfodmap.com, or alittlebit.yummy.com for more resources to help you on your journey. Now, Chloe, you've been an absolute champ. You've given us so many fantastic tips again. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Alana. It's been great.
You are welcome. And for everyone listening in, we hope you enjoyed the session and we look forward to seeing you in another FODMAP chat video sometime soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.